Hey, once again, and welcome to this edition of DMS 3000 News. It's episode number 134 on 2024, and it's time once again for some fantastic articles. I know you're ready to go and get into those articles, so why not, right? Because at this point, it's a Friday, and it's the end of the week for that matter as well, too. So, without further ado, let's take a look at it. But before this, no, this is not the Queen's New Yorker. I am the Queen's New Yorker, Jason DiCanio, host of the Queen's New Yorker on YouTube, Spotify, and a whole host of other places where you can find me, including Apple Podcasts as well. And, I always say that you should always come and check out my shows as well, too. I have the Legacy of Queens on Sunday nights, and, of course, the Queen's New Yorker Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the week. So, do check me out there. I'll even drop some links in there so you know where to go and follow me, okay? Today on our program, our articles include a question of request from a person from yesterday who wanted to know about the JFK Express advertised as the train to the plane. Yes, we had a commercial on yesterday, and one of our wonderful viewers was asking about what is it, okay, and why there was two commercials on one reel. So we'll play you that commercial and then kind of reel right into what it is, okay? So that way you know, and he knows, and that way the request of the question gets the answer, okay? And here's a good one: 7 signs you might not be eating enough protein. You know, if you're the kind of person that loves your protein, but these are 7 signs you might not be eating enough of them, well, we're going to give you that information and get you on the bandwagon so that way you can increase your protein even more and then lower your carbs, but don't cut out your carbs altogether. I always say never cut your carbs. Enjoy your pasta, enjoy your rice, enjoy your bread, but just do it in a way that is modified so that way you still get your protein and you still get your healthy fats in there as well. Okay? And then these extraordinary true stories will remind you about the power of trust. Something that we always think about is trusting somebody. And the power of trust is very important. So the stories that we're going to be looking at today in this third section have that emphasis on trust, and we'll go ahead and give you those toward the end of the program. Okay? We have our headlines, sports, and other important information. What day is today? And of course, the motivation of the day to end our program. Okay? The tracker is ready to go. There it is. Also, too, don't forget to check out new episodes of Chilling 3000 Hangouts with David St. Dennis every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. To be announced, of course. He might have it one week, he may not, depending on who he has. You have to just tune in to check. But it always usually is at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and it precedes this program. Okay? And, of course, my Tier Masters and the gang, we're ready to go every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I have some fantastic news to let you know that we will be going through the summertime. So we will not be taking 3 months off like we thought. We had a unanimous vote, and the guys want to go through summertime. But for their reward, I do give them off all of the holidays of the year. So the week that the holiday falls on, they get it off. Simple as that. And they'll enjoy it with their family and friends and know that they can always come back the following week and get ready for another great show. So check that out as we look at, of course, our Wipe Those Tears at 9 o'clock. And once again, watching from my mini TV via Chromecast. Thank you, Brandon Bogard. And you'll get your first look at that article about the train to the plane in just a little bit. Okay? So, the motivation of the day takes us to the end of the program as usual. But, of course, we'll start off with our headline, sports, and other important information. Get you on your way. The headlines for today, March 8th, 2024. 5 takeaways from President Biden's State of the Union address. Well, President Biden used the high-profile speech to draw a contrast with his 2024 likely opponent, former President Donald Trump. Duh, we all knew this. He hit on the economy, abortion, the Mideast, and the border. I'm going to say this, folks. I watched that disgusting speech last night, and it had no ball bearing whatsoever. If you are anything but a Democrat, you accepted this speech. What? I'm saying, if you were everything but not a Democrat, I'm sorry to take it back. If you're a Democrat, you accepted this speech. If you're anything but a Democrat, you didn't accept this speech. In fact, you were blown away and insulted. Insulted! President Biden, what are you trying to do? I guess you really don't care about the rest of the Americans who are trying to do the right thing and become good American citizens. I guess you just don't give a two-bit hockey puck, whatever. Sad but true, you've lost the votes of the independents and the diehard Republicans that are going to go the other way. And the only thing you got really to run on is your stupidity. And that, my friend, is why you will not win. And if you do win, it's because you flat out cheated every time and lied to the American people about things. And liars will get their eventual just desserts. I will say that much. As the deadline approaches, Colorado River states are still far apart on water sharing. Ahead of a deadline next week, the 7 states that share the Colorado River have revealed competing plans for how the river should be managed in the future. And CBS is developing its first black daytime soap opera in 35 years. The series, currently titled The Gates, will follow the lives of a wealthy black family in a posh gated community. There's no word yet about when the show will air or who will star in it. How a Georgia nursing student's killing reached Biden's State of the Union. Georgia Republicans rallied around the death of the Georgia nursing student to call for harsher penalties for undocumented migrants. President Biden addressed the killing during his State of the Union. He couldn't even pronounce the lady's name correctly. He called her Lincoln instead of Lankin Riley. Okay, it's not Lincoln. It's Lankin Riley, and get it right. For once in your life, get something right. Say something right. U.S. court convicts ex-president of Honduras of aiding drug traffickers. Former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, has been found guilty on charges relating to drug trafficking and weapons possessions in a trial by jury in New York. What's next for Alec Baldwin's Rust case after film's armorer was found guilty? Special prosecutors face an uphill battle in trying to convict the actor over the tragic death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, a former federal prosecutor says. The state of shrinkflation, why Biden called out skimpy bags of potato chips. The term is relatively new, but companies have long hidden price hikes in plain sight by changing packaging sizing. Now the debate is getting political. We knew this a long time ago. Why do they have to bring up old stuff like that? Las Vegas Aces make WNBA history as first team to sell out season tickets. The two-time WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces have accomplished a first for the Women's Pro Basketball League, selling out of season ticket memberships for 2024. Photos for demonstrations around the world on International Women's Day. Protesters decried the wage gap, poor maternity leave, and unequal access to education. And some used the occasion to call for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of the remaining Israeli hostages. Malcolm X is set to be the first black person in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. In 2004 and 2007, the Nebraska Hall of Fame Commission proposed his induction, but chose someone else. And what to expect at the Oscars: the bomb, the bombshell, and the possible comeback. The Motion Picture Academy hopes that more popular films, an earlier showtime, and increased diversity among nominees will lead to higher viewership. Maybe, maybe not. President Biden made the case for his re-election during the State of the Union address. The Republican National Committee chooses new leadership today. Yes. What to know about the political debate around daylight savings time? Well, at least 29 states have considered legislation related to daylight savings time, including making it permanent year-round. But those laws won't take effect until Congress makes it legal. For April's eclipse, going from meh to oh my God might mean just driving across town. Lots of urban areas will be either in or adjacent to the path of totality for the eclipse on April 8th. Experts advise getting into this path even as 99% partial eclipse is nothing like a total one. Miami-Dade County moves to evict Miami Seaquarium. Miami-Dade County has accused the operators of the Seaquarium of improperly caring for the grounds and animals. In August, the tourist attraction was under fire after the death of Lolita the orca. Meet the woman who helped libraries across the U.S. surf the internet. Jean Armour-Polly was inducted into the Internet Hall of Fame in 2019 for evangelizing computers in public libraries, the precursor to the internet being offered as a core service in those spaces. Domestic violence may leave telltale damage in the brain. Scientists want to find it. Traumatic brain injuries from intimate partner violence are common, and potentially more severe than those seen in sports. Really. From rogue flooring to lactating worms, this news quiz is weird. Why was the Oscars carpet champagne? Why is some subterranean worm amphibian making milk? And what's the next for the American Samoa guy? Are there any records left for Caitlin Clark to break? Find out. We watched the State of the Union with undecided voter. She wasn't that impressed. Duh. Karen Seagraves is the kind of independent voter President Biden's campaign hopes to win over this election year. Here's how she saw last night's State of the Union address. Biden spars with Republicans on border security during the State of the Union. The speech, as well as the response, reflect how difficult the border issue has become ahead of the 2024 presidential election. They're making a mountain out of a molehill, folks. And finally, Mexico City's long-running water problems are getting even worse. Reservoirs that furnish a large part of the Mexican capital have fallen to historic lows as low rainfall, climate change, and mismanagement exasperate the problem. There you have it, folks. The headlines for today, March 8th, 2024. As we head into the weekend, daylight savings time is upon us. Now for the NBA scores. Well, I'm telling you, last night as I was watching the State of the Union address, I also watched the Nets fall to the Pistons in a terrible loss. They couldn't even get out of it. But first off, the Timberwolves beat the Pacers 113-111. Nets lose to the Pistons, the lowly Pistons, as the Pistons finally get their 10th game. And who did they get it against? Us lowly Nets. They beat them 118-12, destroying any chance that the Nets now have to even try to get into the playoffs. You can kiss them goodbye. Mavericks beat the Heat 114-108. It was the Suns over the Raptors 120-113. Spurs lose to the Kings 131-129. Nuggets over the Celtics, and the Nuggets take the sweep. So now the Nuggets have a contest to go after the Celtics. Blood is on the ball. 115-109. Nuggets beat the Celtics. Bulls over the Warriors 125-122. Today's games, Hornets at the Wizards. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. Pelicans at the 76ers. Timberwolves at the Cavaliers at 7:30. Magic at the Knicks 7:30. 8 o'clock. Hawks at the Grizzlies. Heat at the Thunder. Rockets at the Trailblazers at 10. And the Bucks will take on the Lakers in LA at 10 o'clock tonight. NHL. Let's take a look at the games there. There were some really good ones last night. And I even see a 7-2 game. Let's take a look at it. Devils over the Blues 4-1. It was the Flyers over the Panthers 2-1. Blue Jackets 4, Oilers 2. Flames over the Lightning 6-3. Bruins beat the Maple Leafs 4-1. Hurricanes over the Canadiens 4-1. Capitals shut out the Penguins 6-0. Predators over the Sabres 4-2. Coyote over the Wild beat the Coyotes 5-2. Canucks 3, Golden Knights 1. Islanders whooped the Sharks 7-2. And in overtime, the Kings beat the Senators 4-3. Tonight's games have the Wild at the Avalanche at 9 o'clock. Red Wings at the Coyotes. Face-off is at 9. At 10 o'clock, Stars and the Ducks. And the Jets will take on the Kraken at 10 o'clock tonight. Let's move on to the MLB. And spring training is still upon us and will be for the next 15. We got 20 more days to the regular season, folks. And the first show of the Dugout Crew of the second season should be good, as we've got our 5 guys ready to go for the new season. I can't wait for that. And hopefully an announcement will be made about the permanent host for the Dugout Crew. So yesterday, Rays beat the Phillies 3-2. It was the Braves over the Red Sox 3-2. Astros 6, Cardinals 3. Brewers 8, White Sox 2. Rangers over the Diamondbacks 7-5. Mariners shut out the Angels 5-0. Blue Jays 5, Tigers 4. Mets over the Nationals 3-1. Tigers beat the Yankees 11-5. And the Cubs and the Reds finished in a 2-2 tie. We got some finals today. Pirates and the Brewers finished up 6-6 tie. Phillies over the Astros 6-3. Pirates beat the Twins 6-3. Yankees lose to the Blue Jays 2-1. Bottom of the third right now, Guardians over the White Sox 1-0. Bottom of the third, Cubs 6, Mariners 2. Bottom of the fourth, Royals 2, Rangers 1. Bottom of the third, Rockies 3, Angels 0. Bottom of the third, Brewers over the Athletics 4-2. Bottom of the third, Diamondbacks beating the Cubs 3-0. Tonight's games have the Cardinals at the Nationals at 6:05, Detroit at the Baltimore 6:05, Mets and Marlins at 6:40, Reds at the Dodgers at 8:05, Giants at the Padres at 8:40, and the Brewers will take on the Athletics at 9:05 tonight. And now for the important information. Folks, let me be very blunt about what I was experiencing last night. We had a very good show of Card Sharks, by the way, just to let you know. But like I said, I was watching the State of the Union and I was very, very insulted because a good president, and I mean a great president, will talk to the whole American people, not just his own party, and not chew out the opposition that he's running against. Okay? Now, mind you, this speech, the State of the Union, was not written by Joe Biden himself. It was written by his senior associates on his cabinet to make it sound like it was really going to spark up the party. This was a campaign speech, folks. This was not a State of the Union address at all, and they know it. So let's put it all in perspective. You really want to get the real issues out? Donald J. Trump will take care of the country and relieve and make it sure and clean up what Joe Biden has destroyed. And if you think that Joe Biden is going to take care of you for another 4 years, think again. When some illegal immigrant not only takes your job, but takes your house, takes your car, kills your family, puts you out onto the streets and says, get out of here. That's what's going to happen. I fear the worst. If you want that to happen, goodness knows what I said. I don't even know what it was. But I could just see it happening. As the illegal immigrants come into the country, all hell is going to break loose. People are going to want to take over other people's houses, homes, neighborhoods. You see it. It's going to be a rundown whole ghetto neighborhood because that's what the Democrats want. So if you want your city and you want your city to be safe, you do the right thing. You never defund the police. You boof up your security and you make sure that you play by the rules, folks. Because if you want illegals to come in and dominate, then you're going to wind up leaving the state. And we know for a fact that those states that have those illegal immigrants are going to be the bluest, most radical states ever. And it's going to be civil war again as the country's going to be divided instead of united. That's all I've got to say. And as far as I'm concerned, I will protect my property, God willing. And like I said, don't let anyone get in your way. You stand up for what you have because you worked hard for it, and don't let anybody else take it away from you. When we come back, yep, what if they say if neither Biden or Trump will take care, in other words, no one will take care of us? Well, let me put it to you this way. You have to take care of yourself. Do not rely on the government, regardless who's in power, okay, at any moment. You have to look out for yourself, take care of your family, take care of those who are close to you, and do the right thing. Stay the heck out of jail. Do not commit a crime. Surely, if you need help with anything, please don't be afraid to ask those closest to you. Seek God if that's the case. If you need to talk to someone, go to someone. Get some free counseling. There are counselors out there that will talk. Talk to a parish priest, a minister, whoever is part of your religion. Do the things that are going to keep you healthy, keep you in line with things, keep you on top of the events of life, and you'll have a great life. There you go. Now, that's more of what I want to hear. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We really do. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about the JFK Express as advertised as the train to the plane, and more of DMS 3000 News when we come back right after this.
You know, when something feels right, you go with it. It's something to believe in. That's how I feel about you.
Well, I feel this way, better than it's ever been before. I know it's you.
The feeling says love. Created with fine jewelry from Service Merchandise, America's leading jeweler.
There is a spot here, inside your head, that sets off your impulse to cough. Call it the cough maker, and call this the cough breaker. Vicks Formula 44 cough mixture. Cough maker, cough breaker. It takes a strong suppressant to help calm the cough maker, but Formula 44 has the strongest non-narcotic cough suppressant you can buy. Help calm your cough maker with the cough breaker, Formula 44.
And now, a decongestant cough medicine from Vicks. Vicks Formula 44D. It helps unclog your nose while it calms your cough.
My baby's not only got a cough, but also a stuffed-up nose. Poor baby. Here's Vicks Formula 44D. Its strong suppressant calms your cough, plus its strong decongestant helps unclog your nose and lets you breathe easier. You're gonna be all right, baby.
Vicks Formula 44D.
Feel like dining with a touch of elegance tonight?
Swanson's cooking just for you.
Swanson chefs have created restaurant-style main courses, a whole menu, like steak and green peppers with mushrooms and onions and just a touch of sherry.
They should open a restaurant.
From the new Swanson, restaurant-style main courses.
Swanson's cooking just for you.
When I bite into a York peppermint patty, I get the sensation of cold, crisp mountain air against my face as I race towards liftoff in the whole world championship ski jump.
York Peppermint Patty. Get the sensation of York's dark, rich chocolate covering a cool, crisp mint center.
And the crowd roars as he executes a faultless landing.
Lovely, Arthur. You win a silver.
Get the York sensation.
Take the train. Take the train to the plane. Take the train to the plane. Take the train to the plane.
The JFK Express. 8 stops along Avenue of the Americas and in Brooklyn. Only $3.50 including shuttle bus. Look for these blue signs or call 212-858-7272. 858-7272.
Take the train to the plane. The train to the plane. Take the train.
Why have over 1 million people taken the JFK Express?
Because it's faster than taking a taxi. Because it's very fast, clean, and safe.
And that's the only way to fly.
It's safe.
Oh, I work for United Airlines, and it's quicker than the bus.
So we're taking the train to the plane to save money.
To spend in Paris.
Take the train to the plane.
Take the train to the plane.
The JFK Express. Only $4 including shuttle bus. Call 858-7272.
Train to the plane.
Not very many years ago, parents were afraid to let their children play together because of the danger of catching polio. Well, today, thanks to vaccines, parents can make their children immune, not only to polio, but to many other terrible diseases as well. Give your child this vital protection. Ask your doctor about immunization. It's one of the most loving things you can do for your child. For more information, write the Will Rogers Institute, White Plains, New York. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the show. And you saw the commercial for the train to the plane, and now we're going to talk about it. So let's do it on here. This first article from the Wikipedia, one of the premier places we usually get our information from the Queens, New Yorker, matter of fact. So the JFK Express, advertised as the train to the plane, was a limited express service of the New York City subway connecting Midtown Manhattan to John F. Kennedy International Airport, or JFK Airport for all of you guys who do abbreviations. It operated between 1978 and 1990. Now, passengers paid extra premium fares to ride the JFK Express trains. Its route bullet was colored turquoise and contained an aircraft symbol. Okay, for most of its history, the JFK Express operated along the IND 6th Avenue line, the IND Fulton Street, and the IND Rockaway line between its northern terminal at 57th Street, 6th Avenue in Manhattan, and its southern terminal at Howard Beach JFK Airport in Queens. Now, at Howard Beach, passengers transferred to shuttle buses to reach the airport itself. During the JFK Express's last 6 months of operation, it was extended northward along the IND 63rd Street line to 21st Street in Queensbridge, also in Queens. Now, the service primarily used the R46 subway cars. Passengers purchased premium fare tickets on board, and an onboard transit clerk on each train punched passengers' tickets. Now, in addition, there were transit police officers aboard to provide protection for travelers. The initial fare was $3.50, and the fare for the shuttle bus was $1. So on January 1st, 1979, airline and airport employees were provided a discounted book of 20 tickets selling for $25. On July 3rd, 1981, the fare was raised to $4, from $4 to $5. When the service was discontinued in 1990, the fare was $6.75. Still cheap enough to get to the airport without having to take a taxi, you know? The JFK Express used R46s exclusively for most of its existence, although near its end, R44s were used after major service changes took place on December 11th, 1988. The trains were initially 3 cars long, or 225 feet in length. They were later 4 cars long, or 300 feet, half the length of a typical B division train. The cars featured luggage racks for airport-bound passengers. In the spring of '78, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey reached out to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority to join a study evaluating long-term transportation improvements to JFK Airport. In the summer of '78, the two agencies worked out the details for a service running to the Howard Beach station on the IND Rockaway line. The station was renamed Howard Beach JFK Airport, and a transfer terminal to shuttle buses was built. Now, since air passengers were perceived to be more sensitive to the quality of service and less sensitive to fare levels, it was decided to operate a special service to Howard Beach at a fare of $3.50. Now, 50 cents cheaper than bus service operated to the airport by Cary bus liners. It was decided to have the route operate via the 6th Avenue line instead of the 8th Avenue line due to its proximity to the economic center of Midtown Manhattan, to Herald Square, Rockefeller Center, and hotels along 50th Street. In addition, 57th Street to 6th Avenue Station provided an optimal terminal for the service as it was underutilized. The MTA announced plans for an experimental subway bus service between Manhattan and JFK Airport on June 27th of 1978. The JFK Express began operation on September 23rd, with a 3-car train operating at 57th Street. The MTA created several 30-second-long television commercials to promote the new service, as we have just seen. Trains ran daily from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. on 20-minute headways. The route began at 57th Street and ran express on the IND 6th Avenue line to West 4th Street, Washington Square, where it switched to the IND 8th Avenue line and ran express to J Street, Borough Hall in downtown Brooklyn. From that point on, it ran nonstop at the IND Fulton Street line and IND Rockaway line to Howard Beach JFK Airport. In its first year, 832,428 passengers rode the JFK Express, greater than an estimate of 550,000 to 850,000 trips for when the service became better known and fully established. The JFK Express attracted 25% of the market for travel between Manhattan and JFK Airport and increased the share of trips to the airport by public transportation. And while the MTA received $2.63 million in revenue from the service, it cost $6.5 million to operate it, meaning an operating loss of $3.9 million. Now, the cost of operating the service was $3 million greater than expected due to the decision to have railroad clerks collect tickets on board the train, and due to the service's expanded hours of operation to 2 a.m. during the Cary bus strike from June 27th to July 23rd of 1979. November 4th of 79, the schedule of service was modified to have trains run every 30 minutes between 5 and 6 a.m., every 20 minutes from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., and every 24 minutes from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Now, within a few years of its inauguration, the service was being criticized as the poor use of resources. The JFK Express proved to be unsuccessful, seeing low ridership in part because the service did not actually serve any airline terminals, but rather transferred passengers to a shuttle bus service that was several hundred yards from the station. In May of 1980, the MTA executive director, John Simpson, recommended that the express train be discontinued, stating that ridership on the line stabilized at 1.3 million yearly riders, and the yearly deficit rose to 2.5 million. Then in June of 1980, members of the MTA board voted to make the JFK Express a permanent service, stating that a mass transit link to JFK Airport was necessary. Then in 83 of June, the New York City Transit Authority, along with other service changes, planned to change service on the JFK Express. Now, the JFK Express would have been extended to Rockaway Park, Beach 116th Street, and the $5 fare and the special guard would be eliminated, making it like any other subway line. Trains would be 8 cars long instead of 4, and the headway between trains would be 18 minutes instead of 20 minutes. The shuttle bus fare would be reduced to 75 cents, the same as the subway fare. A passenger traveling between the airport and any subway stop except Howard Beach would pay $1.50 in total. Now, the proposal was still being reviewed in January of 84, but it never came to fruition. And at times, regular passengers were allowed on the trains and no fares were charged due to disruptions on other services. This included the 1988 closure of the Williamsburg Bridge when trains on the BMT Nassau Street Line and BMT Jamaica Line were rerouted between December 11th, 1988 and October 29th of 1989. Now, on weekday evenings between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m., passengers were allowed to ride the JFK Express between 57th Street and 47th through 50th Streets, Rockefeller Center, without paying the extra fare, as it was the only service running between these two stations during those times. Some passengers paid the extra fare to get to Aqueduct Racetrack during racing days when the JFK Express would stop at Aqueduct Racetrack Station. Then in October of 1989, the New York City Transit Authority proposed eliminating it altogether, citing that it had not attracted enough passengers. Now, at the time, 3,200 passengers were using the train per day, down from a high of between 4,000 and 5,000 passengers that used it at the beginning of the service's operation. The executive vice president of the New York City Transit Authority, George Miller, said that eliminating the service would save $7 million a year and free 144 transit workers and 12 subway cars for more cost-efficient subway runs. Now, it was determined that 47% of the riders of the JFK Express were commuters from Howard Beach and the Rockaways who were willing to pay for the premium service. Trains were running every hour by this point. Go to October of 1989, the IND 63rd Street line opened and the JFK Express was extended to 21st Street, Queensbridge, skipping Roosevelt Island. Now, this extension was short-lived, as service was discontinued on April 15th of 1990 due to low ridership, with as few as 3,200 riders per day. The bus service connecting the Howard Beach JFK Airport Station and the airport proper continued after JFK Express service ended and was the only link between the airport and the Howard Beach Station at the time. Passengers preferred the A train, which was cheaper and ran more often. Ridership on the A to the airport increased after the discontinuation of the JFK Express, and in 1995, about 1 million passengers used the A train to the airport. And since the discontinuation of the JFK Express, the A train has continued to serve the Howard Beach JFK Airport Station. The JFK shuttle bus service remained in operation until the AirTran, or the AirTrain JFK, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey operated People Mover Systems, replaced it on December 17th of 2003. The AirTrain JFK connects with the Long Island Railroad at Jamaica and with the E, J, and Z trains to Manhattan at Sutton Boulevard, Archer Avenue. A proposal referred to as the Lower Manhattan JFK Transportation Project would provide express train service between JFK Airport and Lower Manhattan through Brooklyn. This would be similar to the JFK Express, except that the service would be an extension of the Air Train JFK and operate via the Long Island Railroad's Atlantic branch, providing a one-seat ride to the airport terminals. And there you have it. It means that was good for a little while, but in the end, just going on the A train probably was a lot cheaper, especially if you needed to get there as quickly as possible. And having the stops there was pretty much next to nothing. So, for the second time this week, I've had to restart my PC because the whole thing, when I click off the page, becomes black. I don't get it. Don't feel too bad. We just had a freeze in the commercials, and I had to do something with the router there. So don't feel too bad. Things are going wishy-washy because it's Friday, and I think a lot of people are on the internet just trying to check stuff. So the connections might be a little slow. We apologize for any technical difficulty that have come through. Okay, so you got your history a little bit there of New York City trains and buses. That's why I wore my Queens, New Yorker shirt today, because I knew I was going to be covering something that had to do with it. And if you want to check out some of the stuff that we did on the Queens, New Yorker a while back, where we were talking about buses, planes, and trains, well, definitely check out those shows, because a lot of information is even more covered in those episodes than what we just did on this particular one article of the JFK Express. Basically, we just scratched the surface of the A train, which was by my house, matter of fact. So I wasn't that far from the trains either. I'll tell you more about that toward the end of the program. We're coming back with more of DMS 3000 News with the 7 signs you might not be eating enough protein, and the extraordinary true stories will remind you about the power of trust. More of DMS 3000 News when we come back right after this.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. My hair used to have a mind of its own. Then a few weeks ago, I stopped complaining. I started using Pantene. Pantene is really special. It's got all sorts of good stuff in it that actually gets inside your hair to make it healthier, stronger.
Pantene shampoos and conditioners are serious care. Our Pro-Vitamin B5 complex penetrates your hair to give it inner strength.
From the first day, I saw a difference. And every day, my hair looked fuller and shinier. The ends didn't split or look frizzy. No, it didn't happen overnight, but it did happen. You'll see.
Pantene shampoos and conditioners. Serious care for beautiful hair.
In a small town in Kentucky, he was perfecting his original recipe chicken at an age when others were retiring. And what began on a small town stovetop soon appeared on tables nationwide. In the year of his centennial, we honor Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, with a special offer. Get a 10-piece bucket of original recipe chicken at yesterday's price, just $5.99. The Colonel's Original Recipe Chicken. It's a taste that, even today, nobody can duplicate.
Have you heard? There's a delicious addition to McDonald's menu. New McLean Deluxe. Of course you did. It's written all over your face. But did you know McLean Deluxe has all the great taste of a big juicy burger, but with a lot less fat. It's made with a 91% fat-free beef patty, which might lead one to ask, with a taste this terrific, who needs fat?
Well,
Sorry, rhetorical question. New McLean Deluxe. After billions and billions, another first at McDonald's today.
How to give your family the moistest cake ever. Take a cake baked with an ordinary mix and dunk it. Or bake a cake with Duncan Hines Moist Deluxe Mix and give your family the moistest cake ever. It's lavishly moist, moister than any leading brand. In fact, this Duncan Hines Moist Deluxe cake is so moist, you can save the milk for their cereal.
How to bake your moist, delicious
Duncan Hines.
So
some folks think cable cars capture the real flavor of San Francisco. But for me, it's the great taste of sourdough bread. The secret behind that Hardee's Frisco burger everyone's raving about.
And now there's a new way to enjoy that great sourdough taste. Hardee's Frisco Club. Delicious turkey, tender ham, Swiss cheese, tomatoes, and sizzling bacon on grilled sourdough bread. The new Hardee's Frisco Club and Hardee's Frisco Burger.
The real flavor of San Francisco without having to catch a cable car.
Are you ready for some real fun?
Do you know what's in your ice cream? Now check out Breyer's All Natural.
There's milk, strawberry, sugar, and cream.
Breyer's All Natural Ice Cream. Taste, not technology.
Okay, we're back for more of the show here. 134 episodes are in the books already. Boy, whew. So next week is going into daylight savings time as well. And, of course, we told you about those great articles from yesterday about why it happens and how you can get around these things and why it's important for Floridians to not to have daylight savings time and not keep it permanent. We need those nights to get shorter so we can have that cooler weather. I explained that a little bit there as well, but you know the whole deal. And okay. All right, let's get to the 7 signs that you may not be eating enough protein here on the program. This is a good article I know, and I've emphasized a lot about how you should incorporate more protein in your diet. So Claire Varela says your body has ways of telling you that you're not eating enough eggs, lean meat, fish, nuts, dairy, and protein-rich vegetables to fuel your muscles and overall health. So, first of all, you constantly feel weak and hungry. Terry Hope Romero, author of a number of best-selling cookbooks for health foods, noticed that her vegan diet was leaving her unsatisfied and lacking energy throughout the day. When you work full-time and have a long commute, and you regularly work out or you have a lot of errands to run, it can be easy to fill up on processed carbs, says Romero. To feel full every day, especially when you're working out to build muscle, it's not really the best approach. Protein takes longer to digest, which makes you feel full and energized. And when Romero started consuming more protein by adding natural protein powders like hemp protein and brown rice protein to everyday foods, as featured in the recipes of her newest book, Protein Ninja, she started feeling stronger and more satisfied. And here's how to eat more protein without even trying. The next thing is your muscles look missing in action. It takes more than daily gym visits to look and feel strong. If you don't eat enough protein to fuel your body's tissues with the necessary amount of amino acids, proteins, small subparts, your body has no choice but to start breaking down your muscles to get amino acids from their fibers, according to sfgate.com. So one body part to watch is the clavicle, says Jessica Byhunik, PhD, RD Assistant Professor of Nutrition at New York University's Steinhardt School of Culture, Education, and Human Development. Now, if your collarbone is becoming especially prominent, it could be time to make sure you're eating enough protein and enough calories in general. And you're struggling to lose weight. Well, research in the journal Nutritional Metabolism found that dieters who boosted their protein intake to 30% of their total calories ate nearly 450 fewer calories each day and lost 11 pounds over a 3-month period. Women's Health reported that eating enough protein is especially important on a diet because it helps ensure that you lose fat, not metabolism-boosting muscle, as you slim down. Now, high-protein foods take more work to digest, metabolize, and use, which means you burn more calories processing them, the magazine notes. And they also take longer to leave your stomach, so you feel full sooner and for a longer amount of time. Besides a protein deficiency, these are the 8 other clear signs you're eating a bad diet. And you're losing your hair. Well, occasionally nutritionists will test the health of their clients' diets by asking them to run their hands through their hair to see how much falls out with just a gentle tug. Hair is made primarily of protein. Your hair needs adequate protein to grow and stay healthy. If the body is deprived of protein from your diet, it will try to conserve protein levels as much as it can and shift hair growth into a resting phase, notes WebMD. And this means you may find yourself shedding more hair than usual. Maintain a healthy mane by eating 2 to 3 servings of protein a day, like these high-protein lunches. Here are other secrets your hair is trying to tell you about your health. And you're always getting sick. Well, avoiding the sniffles often requires more than just good hygiene and good sleep. Good nutrition is key, too. The immune system depends on the right fuel to function correctly. A study published in Progress of Food and Nutrition Science concluded that being deficient in protein results in the loss of T cells, important germ fighters, and as a result, the immune system can't ward off bacteria or viruses as well. And your lower legs and feet swell up unexpectedly. If you skimp on protein, you may find yourself prone to fluid retention around your ankles and feet. Proteins help to hold salt and water in blood vessels. Without enough protein, these fluids can seep into surrounding tissues, according to Harvard Health publications. The bloated sensation of one's swollen lower legs and feet, called edema, is uncomfortable, and it usually results in stretched or shiny skin that retains a fingerprint after being pressed for a moment. Your skin gets patches in places. Yes, a protein deficiency can sometimes result in a flaky dermatitis or irritation of the skin, especially on the back of the thighs and on the buttocks, says Dr. Bahunik. Lack of a certain protein in the skin's protective barrier can make skin more vulnerable to allergens and other irritants. And in addition to upping your protein intake, these eczema home remedies can help heal your skin too. All right, there you have it, folks. Another great article from the Reader's Digest that talks about some fantastic proteins that you should be ingesting into your diet as well. And I always say on this note, I haven't lost the 30 pounds that I have lost the 30 pounds, but I have done it in 14 weeks. But that means over the stretch of the time that I've lost the weight, a pound a week, up to 3 pounds. That first week I did lose 7.5, and that was a big shock to my body because I really hardcored it. Then I had to take my body out of that realm of what I was eating. One thing I can tell you is I never skipped my carbs. I didn't cut my carbs. I just lowered my carb intake and upped my protein. And by doing that, I was able to actually lose more weight in the week than just 1 to 2 pounds. I was able to take it to 3 to 4 pounds in certain weeks. So I'm very happy about that. And you should too if you're going to be doing this kind of protein diet. High protein, low carb, but don't do high protein, no carb, because at that point, your body still needs carbs to process everything and balance it out one way or the other. Okay, when we come back, we'll be looking at the extraordinary true stories that will remind you about the power of trust. And of course, what day is today and the motivation of the day, which we're going to switch. We're going to take the what is day is today and the motivation of the day and put them toward the end of the program for you. So that way we have more time for our articles and we can get through the rest of the show without pretty much having to jump around and wait for those great articles that I know you're waiting for. So the executive decision is the what day and the motivation of today will be toward the end of the program because we might have more than one holiday to celebrate. When we come back, more of DMS 3000 News right after this.
I've never seen 10,000 tapes in one store.
There's so much kid stuff.
And I can keep them for 3 evenings.
Now this is a video store. Ordinary video.
Okay, let's try that again.
I've never seen 10.
For a short time, China Coast is stirring up.
You know, when something feels right, you go with it. It's something to believe in.
Okay, folks, we're having technical difficulties playing our commercial blocks here on the show. So, unfortunately, at that point, we're going to go ahead and look at our final article because at this point in time, we can't just waste time with a black screen. It's kind of embarrassing, and I know at this point, with technical difficulties, that that's something that happens, unfortunately. Yeah. What the is right. It's unfortunate because I think what had happened was the commercial blocks, I think they might be that old, or being that they're from YouTube and everything, somewhere along the line, YouTube is probably censoring this. I'm not really sure. We'll try one more time and see what we can do here.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
Nope. Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and look at our third article of the day and pull it up and get on our way here. And I think for what it's worth, we'll give you new commercials for next week. Definitely, we're going to give you those commercials as well. Okay, next up on the program, the extraordinary stories that will remind you about trust. The power of trust, for that matter. Okay, let's take a look at this and see. Charlotte Hilton Anderson is our author. For taking a leap of faith and trusting someone else is one of the scariest things you can do, but these people's stories prove that it's worth it. So, story number 1. Rock Sweeper Shutterstock. Okay, I trusted my trainer and he saved my life. Well, as an athlete, I've always worked hard to push myself to my limits, and with that usually comes some aches and pains. So last year when I started to feel some muscle soreness after a tough workout, at first, I didn't think it was a big deal. I was training for a marathon at the time, so over the weekend, I'd done a 13-mile run. The following Tuesday, I hit my favorite CrossFit gym to do a workout that involved a lot of upper body weightlifting. My trainer told me to take it easy on my body, but I figured I'd be fine and powered through it. Afterward, my trainer noticed a slight swelling in my arm and said he was worried. I tried to brush him off, but he insisted I drink a lot of water and check in with him in a few hours. Sure enough, by that afternoon, the swelling had increased and I headed to the doctor. I still thought he was making a mountain out of a molehill, but I trusted my trainer, so I did it. The doctor took one look at me and diagnosed me with rhabdomyolysis, a life-threatening condition where muscle overuse causes kidney failure. Fact, Rhabdo turns your pee brown. Here are 10 more things your urine can tell you about your health. As they gave me IV fluids to flush out the toxins, my doctor told me that if I had waited even another 30 minutes, we would not be having this discussion in the emergency room. Things were touch and go over the weekend, but I made a full recovery thanks in no small part to my trainer. I was a very experienced CrossFitter and still hadn't seen any problems. Thankfully, I had a great trainer I could trust. He saved my life. Katrina Pyler, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Trust is important, so we conducted a survey to find out which brands Americans trust the most. Meet the heroes of the Trusted League, and these are the most trusted brands in America. I trusted my therapist and caught my husband cheating. Ooh. Well, after suffering through years of a difficult marriage, my husband and I finally decided to try marriage counseling. One day, our therapist suggested a one-on-one session with me. He told me that my relationship wasn't healthy and I needed to get out. I still remember his exact words. He said, "If you told me you were going to stay, I'd ask you why. If you told me you were leaving, I'd have no questions. Worried about infidelity in your relationship? Here are 12 subtle signs your mate might be cheating." Well, at the time, I wasn't ready to believe my marriage was over, but I trusted that he knew what he was talking about. I took his advice seriously and began the painful process of divorce. I discovered that my husband was cheating on me even while we were in counseling, and I realized my therapist had been so right. What he said that day led me to change my life in a major way, and it has made my life so much better in many ways. I'm so grateful I listened to his wise advice when I was too emotionally caught up in my relationship to see the problem myself. Marcy Wright, Sacramento, California. I trusted my dog, and he's still alive. Aww. 10 years ago, I adopted my dog Rudy from a shelter just days before they were going to euthanize him, and we've had a special bond ever since. As a single woman in her 50s, I found his companionship really meaningful. We have a lot of rituals together. For instance, every night we have a little bedtime snack, and then I get in my bed and he gets in his doggy bed right next to mine. But a year ago, suddenly, Rudy didn't want to do the routine. Every night when I got in bed, he'd jump up on my bed and start licking my face, even though he knows he's not supposed to. I'd get mad and make him get off, but the next night he'd do it again. Soon he was jumping on my lap to lick my face every time I sat down. I was considering taking him to the obedience school when it suddenly dawned on me that he was licking the same spot on my jaw over and over again. I felt my jaw and it seemed okay, and I didn't have any pain, but it was so out of character for my dog that I decided to trust him. I made an appointment with the doctor and felt silly telling her why I came in, but she agreed to do some tests. Well, it turned out I had osteocarcinoma, which is bone cancer with a tumor in my jaw. It couldn't be felt from the outside, but somehow Rudy knew it was there. I just finished chemo and radiation, and I'm doing much better now. But the doctor said if I'd waited until the tumor was big enough to be felt, it likely would have been fatal. I saved my dog's life, and now he saved mine. Shocked? Don't be. Here are 13 astounding things your dog knows about you. Linda Baker, Seattle, Washington. I trusted God, and it paid off. Well, of course. When we first became Christians, my husband and I kept hearing about tithing. We all heard about giving 10% and all that. Well, at the time, we were living paycheck to paycheck, just barely getting by. We were donating about $20 a week, which felt like a huge sacrifice at the time. But we kept reading the message in the Bible, Malachi 3:10, and decided to just trust God that if we were obedient, he would take care of us. It was a huge leap of faith, but we started giving at least 10% of our income in tithes. Sure enough, not only could we get by, but our financial circumstances kept getting better and better. We've been tithing ever since and never looked back. Kerry Coleman, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I trusted a career coach, and now I have the job of my dreams. My first job out of college laid me off after just a few years. It was part of a brutal merger, and lots of my coworkers also lost their jobs. Part of our severance package was a career counseling service, but I didn't want anything to do with it. I was frustrated, depressed, and blamed myself for not being good enough. I was convinced I was a terrible worker and no company would ever want to hire me again. About a month after the layoff, I was wallowing in my misery when a career coach from the counseling company called. He told me to just come in and talk to him. And when I said I thought it was a waste of time, he told me to trust him and just try it. Plus, it was already paid for, so what did I have to lose? I went in and met with him. And not only did he totally revamp my resume, but he gave me a ton of good advice. He helped me to see how unhappy I'd been in my previous position, and then I really wanted to focus on a different area in my field. I ended up going to graduate school on his advice to get an advanced degree in a more specialized area. My new resume also got me a lot of interviews, and within a couple of months, I was in a graduate program for professionals and working at an amazing job. It's been nearly 10 years, and now I say that getting laid off was the best thing that had ever happened to me. That and trusting the career coach. Want some good advice of your own? Here are 56 secrets life coaches won't tell you for free. Jason Anderson, Seattle, Washington. I trusted my doctor and my gut instincts, and it saved my son's life. Due to several health complications, my son was born 5 weeks premature. I thought everything was fine, but a week later I was changing his diaper and found blood in his stool. In a total panic, I called the pediatrician, and she told me it was probably just blood from nursing due to a cracked nipple. In my heart, this didn't feel right, so I looked around for a second opinion. The second doctor took me seriously and suggested a scan just to be cautious. I decided to trust him, and we discovered that my son had necrotizing enterocolitis, a very serious intestinal illness common in premature infants that can sometimes be fatal. Time was of the essence. If we had waited even one more day, he could have died. He was admitted and treated for 14 days in the hospital. Today, he is 13 years old, thanks to my trust in a fantastic team of doctors and in my own motherly instincts. If you're inspired, here's how to tap into your own intuition to help your health. Lisa Randolph, Richmond, Virginia. Number 7, I trusted my baby and we both survived. Vomiting when you're pregnant usually isn't that unusual. But when I was 21 weeks along and suddenly gained 30 pounds while vomiting every time I ate or drank, I knew something was seriously wrong. I went into the hospital hoping I had just had the stomach flu, but was shocked when they told me I was in acute heart failure. Nausea is just one of 10 silent symptoms of heart disease. After a few days of testing, the doctors told me that the only way to save my life was to abort my son. I was heartbroken. There was nothing wrong with my baby boy, and after they decreased the amount of fluid I was retaining, I felt pretty healthy too. And yet I was told that if I chose to keep the pregnancy, both of us would likely die. Here's how to find a doctor you can trust. It was an agonizing decision. I didn't want to die, but I felt strongly like my son was telling me it would all work out just fine. Every time I saw him in the ultrasound, I had a powerful feeling that he was fine and I would be fine too. I decided to trust him and my body and kept the pregnancy. My son Ethan is 3 now, and we both are doing great. Labor and delivery were textbook perfect. I ended up getting a heart transplant when he was 6 months old and have recovered well. 2 weeks ago, we had our second baby, this time with a surrogate. Every night when I tuck both my kids into bed, I'm grateful all over again that I trusted my little guy. Allie Barton, Dedham, Massachusetts. And finally, I trusted my husband, and now our marriage is stronger than ever. This one I've got to read because who would trust a husband, right? And like so many people, this past election was incredibly difficult for me. In the months that followed, I became completely obsessed with political news coverage. All day, every day, I was glued to my phone, reading news sites and social media constantly. Understandably, this didn't make me great company. Politics was all I thought about, all I wanted to talk about. And my husband and I fought about politics a lot. Then a couple of months ago, my husband sat me down telling me my behavior had gotten out of control and he was worried about me and about us. I don't want this election to be the reason we get divorced, he said. You need therapy. At first, I was defensive, but then I remembered how much he'd always loved me and what a great husband and father he was. I knew I needed to trust him. Once I tuned out the political noise, I realized my husband was right. I was stressed out, angry, sleepless, and neglecting the most important people in my life. I was obsessed, making myself sick by constantly poring over the latest on social media, and it wasn't helping anymore. It wasn't that my husband didn't respect my right to my beliefs, but rather that he hated watching me suffer so much. Well, since then, I've been able to disengage with politics and re-engage with my family and community. Trusting my husband saved my mental health and my marriage. Here are the signs you can trust your partner. Natalie Benson, New York City, New York. Charlotte Hilton Anderson. She's an award-winning journalist who covers etiquette, relationships, psychology, health, and lifestyle. And she has written more than 50 etiquette stories for Reader's Digest, spearheading the site's popular Polite Habits and Best Messages series. With an knack for capturing the essence of an interview subject, she also specializes in human interest and, as told to, stories. Now, in addition to Reader's Digest and The Healthy, her work has been published in Shape, Cosmopolitan, Women's Health, O Magazine, Fitness, Redbook 17, and What to Expect When You're Expecting, and more. Thank you, Charlotte Hilton Anderson. Fantastic article. And that wraps up the 3 articles for today. Okay, since we don't have commercials, we go on and continue on with the program here instead of taking a break. So let's go ahead to the holiday of today. Yeah, what holidays are today? Let's see. I also know today is also Fish Friday. So for all those who are practicing Lent, getting close to the 4th Sunday, what holiday is today? We got International Women's Day, National Proofreading, National Peanut Cluster Day. Okay, I don't know if anybody... Oh, here's a good one for you. National Retro Video Game Day. If you want to play your old school Coleco and Atari games, this is your day to do it. Nothing big in there. Peanut clusters, they can, Okay, so we don't have going on anything in the national. Sometimes there's good stuff, and sometimes there's stuff that's really not there. We'll go to the Daily Motivator and call it a day, all right? Okay, good. Okay, the Daily Motivator. No, I don't want to be a courier driver. What the heck? Oh, boy, I hit the wrong link. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. There we go. Daily Motivator. Good. Okay, we're ready to go for today's March 8th, 2024. And this one is titled, Go Ahead Now. Today brings great promise. Begin now to fulfill that promise. Your most persistent thoughts will result in action, and your most effective actions will be transformed into accomplishments. It all gets set in motion by your intention and your attitude. There are good reasons for all you love, all you care about, all you dream about creating, sharing, and experiencing. Here and now, let those reasons encourage you to bring new goodness to life. This is the time that you have to work with. This is the moment in which you have the immeasurable good fortune to live. As big as the problems may seem, there are only a small fraction of the possibilities. Today is when you can choose to follow the best of those possibilities. Everything in your life has been leading up to this moment. So go ahead now and continue to move and continue to more richly experience and fulfill the life you were born to live. Thank you, Ralph Marston, for a great motivation of the day, which always ends our program on a happy high note, as they say. And we have some more some more comments here. Okay, so like Pokemon Puzzle League or Tetris Attack or Super Mario World. I'm talking the retro stuff, my friend, like Atari and ColecoVision. But anything, I guess, that has a good 20-year span on it would be classified as retro. Not Super Mario Kart. And yes, I ain't that good at it anymore. Yeah, I guess so. I never played Super Nintendo, so I wouldn't know. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you very much for another great show and another great week. We've had a good time here. Remember, next week on the program, Mark Leota comes on this Wednesday, the 13th, to take over the program for me as I take a midday break, or a midweek break as it is. But we'll be back on Monday and Tuesday with some fantastic articles and hopefully some commercials that will work this time. In the meantime, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for your continued support. And remember, be honest, be real, and keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Have a great night and a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Gary Patterson Network for more great content like this one. Don't forget to subscribe to the Gary Patterson Network for more great content like this one.